Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome back. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video, I talk about my 2025 StoryGraph reading statistics and my 2026 reading goals. I'm just going to go through some general statistics and then some more detailed statistics that StoryGraph gives. In 2025, StoryGraph shows I read 45 books. 18,232 pages and 0 hours of audiobooks. There's actually 2 other books that I read. I didn't add them to StoryGraph. They're Project Gutenberg books. I didn't quite want to take the effort of figuring out how to add those books. Not the biggest deal. I could have just select the titles and the type of book and stuff, which was what I did when I first went on StoryGraph. But ever since I learned how you can add books, I kind of want to try to add them. These 2 books I didn't try to add, so it's actually 47 books. My goal for 2025 was 75 books, so I fell 28 books short. I don't see offhand right here what my goal for pages was. I fell a little short of that, and I fell way short of my goal for audiobooks. I think it was about 100 hours for audiobooks, so I fell way short of that. I'm most concerned with the fact that I fell way short of the books and I didn't read any audiobooks. The page numbers are just more to determine the size of the books, because I could read 100-page novellas, and that's only 10,000 pages, so that'd be easy to do. But really the book numbers and the audiobook numbers are the ones I most care about. StoryGraph shows that my average time to finish was 25 days, and my moods are, top mood was dark, then mysterious, emotional, tense, adventurous. Those were the top 5. Also, I'm going to put graphics of all these up as I talk about them. And I think maybe following each segment so you can look closer if you're interested. It shows my pace was 64% medium, 24% fast, 11% slow, which isn't surprising. Most of the books that I read I consider medium paced. Don't consider too many fast paced. A little bit more than slow than fast, usually I consider, but mostly medium. StoryGraph shows, from as far as page numbers go, that 49% of my books were 300 to 499 pages, 36% were less than 300, and 16% were more than 500. Then again, it shows that I didn't listen to 1 minute of audiobooks. Shows that 95% of the books that I read were fiction and 5% were nonfiction. This is another statistic that is upsetting to me. I'm always going to read more fiction than nonfiction, but I'd like it to be maybe 20-25% nonfiction instead of 5. I think I only completed 1 nonfiction book, so that's not great. And also the nonfiction book was a memoir, which is fine, but I also like to read in science and history maybe. I also like to read there, especially science. Then it lists my genres. From the top, it's fantasy, horror, literary, romance, contemporary. Then there's a 3-way tie between historical, LGBTQIA+, and thriller, down all the way to like just my last few are short stories, magical realism, history, race, graphic novel, and middle grades. And there's some in between too, but The top ones aren't surprising. Fantasy, horror, and romance are the type of genres I know I read a lot. I've mentioned before that I consider literary and contemporary a little bit different type of genre than fantasy, horror, and romance. And I think being on BookTube initially as a viewer and now as a booktuber, those three genres are ones that I think I've been most influenced by. And I've probably been more influenced than anything maybe in romance. But all three genres I've been influenced by watching other booktubers. It shows the format, that 76% digital and 24% print. Not surprising. I do read more digital books. They're just more convenient for me to read. And as far as most fiction books, I don't find that reading on an e-reader takes away from, it makes it feel any less book-like than reading a physical book. Shows my most read authors are Taylor Jenkins Reid and Anne Rice with 2 books each. Shows all the books I read are in English. I have kind of toyed with the idea of maybe trying to read some books in Spanish, maybe especially graphic novels. I did not too long ago do one of the, I can't think of the name of it, one of the famous language apps, websites, and for a while did their Spanish training. I did most of it, but I didn't feel like, even though I was passing the quizzes, didn't feel like I was learning, retaining Spanish as much as I hoped, so I thought maybe reading Spanish, especially a graphic novel, because that'd be a good place to start because you have the pictures to go by. I thought that might help me pick up some Spanish, but I haven't actually got around to do it. Then there's a year-long graph which shows books read and pages read. It's fairly steady during the year, although there is, like in July and October, I peak for books read. Each of those months were 6. And as far as pages read, it's kind of up and down, but my lowest page month was August with a little under 1,000 pages, and that was also one of 3 months, August, November, December, I only read 2 books. My reading did tail toward the end of the year. Then it shows my star ratings. I did rate all my books. I didn't actually do written reviews on all of them. I went back, I think last week, and I just filled in the star ratings for all the books because I wanted a complete picture at the end of the year. The average rating is 4.38 stars. My lowest rating is 3.0 stars. 2 books. The highest rating is 5 stars, 15 books. I am an easy grader. I did, despite a smaller number of books than I hoped, did enjoy most of the books I read. Now I'm going to go a little more in depth. StoryGraph is great for giving you numbers. That's what I love about it. And I'm going to talk about my 2025 reading wrap-up. It says congratulations on a wonderful reading year. And it was. I guess 47 books is still good. It's just disappointing because it fell far short of my goal. I know it still means I read more than most people who even do read to begin with. I'm not really sure of the percentage of people who read versus those who don't, but wouldn't be surprised if it's less than 50% of the people who read even 1 book a year. Could be wrong. I should look into that. He finished 45 books across 18,232 pages. The first book was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Last book was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. It shows my mood map. A mood map of your reading. Lighter books push the line up and darker books pull the line down. Mine is fairly steady during the year. It's pretty low. I do tend to read darker books. It says you wandered through tales tinged with shadow, chased clues down winding paths, and felt every heartbeat on the page. Steady rhythm of stars kept the year moving along nicely. Well, that's true. Then it shows again the books and pages I read per month in 2025. And my top 5 genres in 2025. As mentioned previously, they were fantasy, horror, literary. Well, actually, I'll say the numbers. Fantasy was 14 books, horror was 13, literary was 12, romance was 10, and contemporary was 9. And of course, books can be in more than one category, especially contemporary and literary. Books can be in more, romance and literary and horror and contemporary. The longest book I read was Weave World by Clive Barker, 672 pages. Shortest book was Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney, 33 pages. The average length of the books you read was 350 pages, and it took you around 25 days to finish each book. The average number is one number I'm happy with. I think it was maybe 328 pages a book last year, and I think the year before was maybe 299. So the average length of the book I'm reading has increased. The shortest time spent is 2 days reading Mr. Salary. Mr. Salary is actually just a short story. It's maybe 35 pages, even though it's in book form. The longest time spent is 197 days for Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett. Not because I didn't like the book. I like the book a lot. It's 4 stars. I just put books down and sometimes don't pick them up for a while. Sometimes never pick them up again, unfortunately. It just happens. Again, it repeats the 2 authors I spent the most time with, which is Anne Rice and Taylor Jenkins Reid. 2 books each. Repeats my average rating, which is 4.34 stars. It says looks like you know how to pick them. Interestingly, many of the books were picked for me for book clubs. Shows my 2025 5-star reads, which are 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Christie, Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, The Center by Aisha Manazir Siddiqui, The Will of the Many by James Illington, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Gorgeous Gruesome Faces by Linda Chang, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, Weave World by Clive Barker, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, Crypt of the Moonspider by Nathan Ballingrud, The Callous Enemy by George Takei, Bunny by Mona Wad, and Bride by Ali Hazelwood. It shows again my 2025 ratings, which range from 2 books at 3 stars to 15 books at 5 stars. Shows some months were better than others. May was my highest average rating, 4.63 stars. March wasn't my favorite month with an average rating of 3.75. Most pages I read were in June, 238 pages. Then it shows other StoryGraph users in 2025 reads. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid was the most shelved. 996,772 users. My rating was 5.0. Not surprising, very popular book and author, very deservedly so. Not only very skilled, but based on the two books I read, a wide range. The least shelved was Toxic Love by Christopher Triana. 567 users. My rating was 3.5. Never did do a book review of this. It would be hard to talk about it. It is a splatterpunk book, a book, very disturbing book, but a book that I did enjoy overall. It upsets me a little bit maybe that I did, but writer is skilled, although he writes about very disturbing topics. Highest rating book that I've read is 4.56 stars, and I rated it 5.0. Not surprising, this book, very deservedly popular, a great accomplishment by the author. Part of what I think is going to end up being a 5-book series. I'm currently partway through the second book, The Strength of the Few. Liking it a lot so far. Says I explored the work of 33 new authors, including Michael Crichton, Taylor Jenkins Reid, and Eva Baltasar. It's not actually true that I read Michael Crichton for the first time here when I read Spear. I had read him years ago, read the Andromeda Strain, which I really loved, and probably other books too, but that doesn't show up in StoryGraph because that was years before StoryGraph existed. It says 15 of the books you read were part of a series. It shows According to Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, second book in the ACOTAR series, which I really liked, According to Mist and Fury. I think it was 4.5 stars. StoryGraph says that I revisited 2 books, and it shows The Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. It's not true that I revisited that book. I actually revisited one book, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, so I'm not sure how it came up with 2 like that. Said you finished all the books you picked up this year, no DNFs. That's true technically. I didn't DNF a book, but I didn't finish every book I started. I hope to. I have not DNF'd any book on StoryGraph. It says you read 40 books from your own shelves this year, which I did read. Most of the books I read were ones I owned, so that is true. Then it does a comparison to my 2024 numbers. It says your number of books was down 38%, number of pages was down 20%, number of hours was down 100%. Not crazy about those numbers, but they are what they are. Now it shows my mood map. Compared to my friends. Not surprisingly, their mood line is higher than my mood line. I guess they read more upbeat books than I do in general. And then it shows my personal 2025 reading experience, charts generated for my reviews, and the biggest categories are emotional, sad, tense, dark, mysterious, challenging, adventurous. None of those are really surprising considering the books I read. And it shows again the speed of the books I read. Majority are medium, which isn't surprising. Shows the components of my highest rated reads. The moods are inspiring, sad, and mysterious. Pace is medium. Book type is nonfiction, which I kind of don't get that because I only read one nonfiction book. I think it was maybe 3.5, so I don't quite get why it says my highest rated reads are nonfiction, but that's what it says. Genres, graphic novel, history, race. Not sure about that one either. Story style, character driven, that's true. I'm more character than plot. And characters lovable, flawed, diverse, well developed. And that is what I like. And it says try mixing and matching some of these features to find your 2026 favorites. Then it just shows the books I read, which you can see because I'll post the graphic. Actually graphics because I had to divide it up. But it shows the 45 books that I read and that I put in StoryGraph. Two other books I read that aren't listed here because I didn't enter them are Frankenstein by Mary Shelley and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Read them on Fable, and Fable offered the books for free. They were from, can't think of the name of the place that offers free books, but they were free from there, so I didn't enter them because I couldn't quite figure how. I could have done it. I guess I just didn't feel like going to the trouble more than anything because I just didn't feel like going to the trouble. But so those two books, those are both classics that I read in addition to the books that are shown in these graphics. So those are my stats for my 2026 goals. I set a goal of 52 books for the year. If I had set that for 2025, I'm sure I would have achieved it because I got close. It was just I was so far away that there was no way I was going to achieve it as the year waned. I decided I wanted to listen to 12 audiobooks in 2026. I estimated 15 hours per audiobooks, and the math, 12 times 15, comes up to 180 hours. So my goal is to listen to 108 hours of audiobooks. That leaves 40 books. 52 minus 12 is 40, which is my physical and ebook goal combined. I don't separate them out, whatever, but I just want to read 40 books in one of those two formats. I took the 350 pages per book that my 2025 wrap-up showed me, and I did the multiplication. That came out to 14,000 pages, so that's my page goal for 2026. In general, what I want to do is I want to re-emphasize my reading. I kind of fell off some part of it because a couple of video games I'm playing which I loved. Still playing one of them, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just want to get a little better balance. And I think I want to, without just absolutely taking a long time to study books, I think I want to read books a little bit more deeply, take a little bit more time while reading them. I haven't quite figured out where book clubs fit in. There's some of them I'm still going to definitely read, but I stopped latter part of the year doing the Fable book clubs. I may try to do them again, I'm not sure. But mainly I want to re-emphasize my reading and just And one related to that, I want to try most mornings when I get out of bed to just do a little reading before I really start my day, before I look at my phone, before I look at the news. Just kind of ease into my day by doing a little reading. I would be interested in knowing how your 2025 went reading-wise. If you'd like to let me know, please add a comment. If you can't think of anything else to comment, please add an emoji of your choice. Can't really think of what emoji to use for statistics. I hope you have a wonderful reading week. I hope you have a wonderful week in general. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos.